The video I'm going to be talking about is a video that I made back in 2018, and it's a video that I've immensely regretted for a long time now. I think I deleted it probably 2 years ago at this point. It was a video titled The N-Word, and I argued in that video that people should stop being so sensitive when it comes to that word. Bear in mind that I'm a white guy who was saying all of this and railing against people for being so quote-unquote sensitive when it comes to this word, when I'm sure a lot of those quote-unquote sensitive people are people who that slur targets. Basically, this was back when I was an edgy douchebag, always making jokes that contained that word, and I wanted to try to justify me making such jokes by saying, this is a word that we should remove the power from. We should stop demonizing this word because that only gives power to racists. I ascribed to that backwards logic back then, completely ignoring that many racists these days do not even use that word. And I do say in the video, the only context where that word is unacceptable is where someone who is legitimately a racist goes up to a black person and calls them that word in a derogatory fashion. Again, unless you go to certain corners of the internet where people are completely mask off, like in, say, a lot of these YouTube alternative websites, you'll see the N-word plastered everywhere, and the people saying it aren't just being edgy douchebags, let me tell you. But anyway, racists these days are a lot more subtle. They won't outright say they're racist, they won't outright call black people the N-word, but they'll still justify their warped views by pointing to crime statistics and saying, see, black people disproportionately commit more crime, completely ignoring the socioeconomic factors that lead to black people committing more crime. And then they'll discredit movements like Black Lives Matter, discredit efforts to improve the living conditions for marginalized people in this country. I just had this really stupid black and white view of the world back then, thinking that, oh, it'll be so easy to tell that someone is a racist, just spot the person calling black people the N-word. And all of those jokes that people tell, where they flippantly use the N-word and there's hardly any punchline aside from the fact that they use the N-word, that totally doesn't normalize racism in the heads of people. I'm a prime example of this. Just a few years ago when I was flippantly using the N-word in jokes and just saying it to be edgy, I had these very backwards, very warped views on things like racism. I tried to brush off racism as just, some bad opinions that only some people in society hold. Most people these days shun racists, so therefore racism is over. Racism is not a problem in this world, and is especially not a problem on a systemic level. I even defended PewDiePie's usage of the word in that one live stream where he gets angry at a video game and then he blurts it out. I tried brushing that off as just him getting angry at a video game. Everyone who is scrutinizing him for this does not understand video games and how they make you frustrated, and how said frustration can lead you to saying things that you regret. I play a lot of video games. Gaming is my favorite pastime, and you bet your ass I've gotten pissed off so many times at so many video games throughout the years, but never once did I ever just blurt out the N-word or any other similarly scrutinized slur out of anger. That's not a word that just slips from your mouth. If it does slip from your mouth just like that, that's kind of indicative of quite a few things about your character. Even when I said it all of the time just for the sake of being edgy, it never just slipped my mouth like that. That's kind of an indicator that you use it routinely against people as an insult if that is your go-to word to call someone out of frustration. But that's just me. I also went on this big rant arguing that people demonizing this word only leads to forgetting about history, which I really don't know how normalizing not using this word leads people to just forget one of the worst things you can call another human being. And I also have no clue how not using this one word leads people to just instantly forget the racist past of this country. It's like conservatives who argue for not taking down Robert E. Lee statues in this country. It erases history, even though students are still taught about the Civil War to this day. Nothing about taking down statues of Confederate soldiers erases any sort of history. The only thing it sort of erases is the notion that we should hold these awful historical figures in some kind of reverence. If anything, the knowledge of how a certain word has been historically used to dehumanize a certain group of people should make you more incentivized not to use it. I just really don't understand my thinking back then. How does just using the N-word teach anyone about anything. Normalizing not using the word doesn't erase the word itself, doesn't erase the history surrounding the word. It just tells people that this is a wildly offensive slur that was used routinely throughout history to dehumanize a certain group of people just based on their skin color. What real purpose does this word have in our society today? Why should people still use it? I tried to say, it's just a word, don't get so offended over letters arranged in a certain order. It's easy to say that as a white guy, who this word does not target. And that's the thing that disgusts me the most about this video. Me, a white guy, telling the viewer, who may even be black, how to feel about this racial slur that may target them and not me. I told them to just get over it, grow a thicker skin, stop being so offended. I was 17 when I made that video, but I sounded like a fucking 50-year-old conservative. Context does matter, but there are very, very, very few contexts where using that word is actually okay. If it's a TV show or a movie that has a racist character, and they use that word, and it's made very clear that their racism is not shown in a positive light, then whatever. And hell, there are movies and TV shows like Blazing Saddles, for example, that has racist characters that use that word flippantly, but they're depicted as stupid and you're meant to laugh at them for their irrationality. Patti Smith became one of my favorite artists last year, and one of my favorite songs by her is a song that is literally called Rock and Roll N-Word, and it is not used in a derogatory fashion in that song. In the song, Smith identifies as a N-word, meaning a rebellious and honorable outsider. Smith is continuing Norman Mailer's tradition of the white Negro, adopting black culture to express things she believes her own culture will not allow, and rejecting the oppression white culture has historically imposed on others. It's an anti-racist song that is also from 1978, when things were less politically correct, quote-unquote, so I guess that is worth taking into account as well. But bottom line is, there are some exceptions for me, and I'm talking about me only, purely on a personal level. If anyone is off-put by the N-word being used in any sort of context, in any media, that is perfectly valid. I'm not going to scrutinize you like my dumbass 17-year-old self. Oh, Jesus. Watching that video again is painful. A lot of the videos I regret making are backed up on Google Photos. I may make more videos talking about videos I regret in the future, who knows. And for those of you who watch UTF, yes, this is partially inspired by his Archive Dive series. I thought it would be interesting for me to talk about videos I'm personally ashamed of that I have made. I gotta continue that tradition of being a dollar store version of him. But anyways, to end this video off, cracker is a racial slur, but it is not nearly as bad as the N-word. For those of you who have been keeping up with the Hassan and Vosh drama, you know what I'm talking about. But for those of you who don't know, that probably just came completely the fuck out of nowhere, but whatever. Anyway, that's all I have to say. Bye-bye.